Good afternoon. Hi, I'm so glad to have you guys here. We're both really happy to get a chance to talk with you. This is going to be an interview with a Sunrise mom on the front lines doing her program with her son. Her name is Kristen Selby Gonzalez.
Hello.
And she has a little boy who's really adorable. I've worked with him, and his name is Jackson. And she's going to talk about a lot of what her own experience has been, both in terms of how she's overcome different things and different creative ideas she's had in her Sunrise program, and also different things she's done biomedically and dietarily to help her son. For those of you who haven't been on these before, my name is Ron Kaufman, and in addition to being the CEO of the Autism Treatment Center of America, I am also the guy who used to be where her son is, and I'm the one who the book Sunrise, The Miracle Continues, and the movie is about. So yes, I did used to be autistic, and so I'm especially really delighted to have Kristen here today, because she is doing for her son what my parents did for me that's made my whole entire life possible. So I'm very, very grateful to have you here. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Hi, everyone.
So what is going to happen is I'm going to ask her a bunch of different kinds of questions. We have gotten loads and loads and loads, I have them in my hand here, loads of questions from you guys ahead of time. Thank you so much. I will tell you that rather than read up all the questions in advance, we're going to talk about, and Kristen's going to talk about, a lot of the answers to your questions without us having to go over all of them individually. So I think you'll be really, really excited and really thrilled to get all your questions answered and to have a lot of information on how to help your own children and the children that you love. A couple of informational points. If you want to get in touch with us, you can, of course, go to our website, www.autismtreatment.org. Absolutely, there's loads of useful information there. In fact, you can go to www.autismtreatment.org/research, and you can actually read a paper that culls together a lot of the different published studies that actually back up exactly the kind of principles that Kristen's been using and that we use at our center. Also, by all means, feel free to give us a call. It's the number for us, I'll just give you the regular number no matter what country you're in. You can dial this. It's 413-229-2100, and you can get information sent to you. You can book a call with one of our family counselors to get your specific questions answered, and you can also hear about how you can get yourself to one of our startup programs, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's our initial week-long training program for parents and some professionals, and it really gives you all the tools to use. So if you have any questions about that, we have a startup program coming up in mid-August. Okay, so now I'm excited to ask you these questions. Yay! First, I think what would help people to understand your story and everything is maybe to tell us a little bit about your own history with Jackson, and maybe to start off with, what you were told about him when he was given his diagnosis.
Okay, so basically, when we got his diagnosis, we were told that he was most likely never going to talk to us. He was not going to really look at us. He was really just not going to have any meaningful relationship with us. I remember the psychologist telling me, just, go home, think about what I've told you, and someone's going to be in contact with you. So about a week later, we get this phone call, and it was something called like a pre-IEP. And that's, if you don't know, that's an individual education plan from the school district. So I go to this, she looks at me and she says, you're pretty naive to think your child's ever going to do anything. She says, he's probably, like I said, never going to look at you, never going to talk to you, never really going to have any friends. And the best thing you could do to really help us out would be to get him to eat with a spoon and a fork, to get him potty trained by the time he's 8. And I'm like, well, why? What happens at 8? And she says, well, that's usually when they go into a group home. And I remember sitting there thinking, wow, this is pretty intense. And so then she looks at me and I don't think she thinks I was like actually getting it. So she says, I hate to tell you this, Kristen, she says, but once a duck, always a duck. So I remember sitting there, my stomach just felt like, I really felt like I wanted to throw up. It was like this not fun feeling. And
so that happens. I mean, and I think a lot of people watching can kind of relate to that, as they've been given really dark pronouncements like that about their own kids. So then you're given this pronouncement. What did you do from there?
Well, so basically I get really depressed for a couple of weeks, and then I I don't know, something kicked me in the butt is really what happened. My son comes in, he's smiling, but he's totally in his own world. And I thought, you know, if I don't do something for him, who is? So I start looking, I start researching, I get on the internet, and I find the Autism Treatment Center of America.
And I know you, of course, went to a startup.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, what was that like for you, that experience of going to a startup?
Oh my gosh. It was an amazing experience. First of all, I met two of my best friends who were still all three best friends. So that alone was amazing. And you're in this room where you're surrounded by people that are going through the same thing you're going through. It's almost like you walk into this like whole new place where everywhere else you've gone, everybody looks at you like you're crazy. Now you're in this room where everybody's kind of crazy together. So, but you're all not really crazy. Everyone's kind of getting it. And it was just this, everybody was so warm and so welcome. And they kind of started telling me things that made really, like, a lot of sense to me. Started explaining to me where my child was at. And not only that, started giving me tools on what to do with my child. So that was really, just really exciting and just a whole new experience for me.
So then you took the startup, and then you go home and you do the program with Jackson.
Yes.
So what happened when you did that?
So first of all, I want to make sure you guys understand. My son had no language. He wasn't looking at me. So when I went home, I still had a child with no language and wasn't looking at me. But in the first 3 days, he said his first 3 words. He said, Bob, Bubble, and Cheetah. And for many parents, you may already know what Bob was. It was Bob the Builder. And so he asks me for Bob, Bubble, and Cheetah, which were on our shelves. So he's already, like, you know, just started talking, started looking at me a little bit more. And I felt like I actually had something I could do with him now. I felt really confident. I felt, before I just looked at him and I didn't know what to do. He just like was this little kid running around. He was running around 100 times around the dining room table. And now I have this child where I actually know what to do with. I felt like I could go in and be helpful to him and to me.
So he says his first 3 words in just the first few days.
Yes.
And just for the sake of time, because we have so much to go over today. So then what now that was over 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. How much did he change over that amount of time?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was like over 2 years ago, right? So we had a kid that didn't say anything. Now we're having a child who's talking to me. He's like saying sentences at this point. He's not recovered. We're still working with him. But he is completely transformed from where that child was over 2 years ago. I mean, if you would have asked me then, I couldn't even imagine that he would be where he is today. He's looking at me. He's playing games with me. He's singing songs, not only to me, but with me. And we're dancing together. We just have this amazing, fun time now.
That is great. That is really wonderful. And I know you did all the programs, so you did also Maximum Impact and New Frontiers at different points during your last couple of years. How was that for you?
It was the best experience, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, it really was. By the time you do startup, you go home and you're like, okay, I get it. And then after a few months, even with your phone consults and everything else, you're like, okay, I need to plug in. I need to plug into other people. I need to get that feeling. I need to really just start connecting, networking with other people. So I get over to the Maximum Impact. Again, see my best friends that I made at startup. Really got to plug into them, got to start really brainstorming with them. On top of that, Maximum Impact gives you even more ideas. They take you to a whole new level. It's like you go home and you think you know what you're doing from startup, and then you're like, oh, I could do this too? This is great. Same feeling with New Frontiers. They really go into the depth of like how to game planning, you know, at your group meetings. They go into different things you can do with volunteers, how to train people. So things that they do go over in startup, but it's like at a whole other advanced level because you're really more available for it because you've already been doing the program. You're understanding it more. You've already got your feet wet. So they're just amazing programs.
That is really incredible. And again, I played with him, so to see where he's come to is just been amazing. He's such a sweet kid, and you've done an amazing job with this Sunrise program.
Well, I think so too. I'm biased.
Well, I'm glad you're so modest about it.